We're a little bit, well, no, we're right on time, actually. As I usually do, I'll make a few introductions and point out some people who are here. We have, I think, a special guest, Jeff Woodruff, the new head of the American Chamber, is here today. Where's Jeff? Anyway, he's here, and he looks like a good fellow. Okay, he just went to the washroom. Julian Payne, also of the the president of the Canadian Chamber, is here. We have David Lee Chu is here, of the head of the Jones Lang LaSalle. Lee Chu is here, along with a lot of Jones Lang LaSalle people. Nando Camus, of course. We have Jim Donovan of Amdatex and other related companies. He's here today with us. A good group from HSBC. Where's our HSBC people? Okay. I think Stuart Townsend is here and a number of others here, so nice to have you. Okay, Guy Mills of Manulife is here. Where's Guy? Yes, Guy's over there. It's a good operation. Henry Montgomery of Montpac Outsourcing, also here with his client from Texas. Looked like a nice fella. No, anybody who likes Filipinos, we like here. So. Brian Conley is here from the Ascot. Rick McConaughey of RCG is here. Yes. Carolyn Rivera and many other people, Mike Shahata and others from the Results Manila, a fast-growing call center organization here. Kim Campbell is here, the executive chairman of the Zulig organization, over in the back there. Renee Kizan of Point West, with one or two others are here. Quite a mix. Eric Nielsen has a number of people from the Regis Regional Operating Shared Service Operations here. Jeff Uthoff is here of IBM, formerly with ICT Group. Who else? David Caldwell, I see, formerly with Imerson, now with SPI. Big group from SPI also. I see Belle Ballas, the impressive fellow just beside her whose name just left me, but head of the content division, which is a large group there. Yeah, so a good group. I'll just talk a little bit about our speaker, and then we'll get right to Maulik Parekh. The fella, some of you have heard the description before, but he came here maybe, 4 years ago now, Maulik, was it? Little less than going on? Yeah, initially with the Teletech organization. At that time, Teletech was a solid organization, maybe 5,000-6,000 people. And him and his group of zealots grew it to 22,000 people within just a short period of time, less than 3 years or so, I believe it was. A tremendous achievement, resulting in the employment of 22,000 people across the nation. He was awarded the company was awarded the BPO Company of the Year award by the International ICT Awards, and after that experience, he had I think from what I've heard from different sources, a boss who was very demanding, and for some reason ended up taking some time off. He spent 6 months stomping around the Himalayas, getting in touch with the universe and meditating and things like that. And then Manny Pangilinan called him to offer him a job with SPI. And so now this is, in my opinion, the premier knowledge process outsourcing of Philippines, homegrown company. Just some little background, probably Maulik will talk about. But as I understand it, the company was started years ago by a New Zealander named Alan Fraser, who was a religious, I thought of him more as a religious missionary type. And in in his sales presentations, he would tell clients, we're in business for God, family, and our customers in that order, which isn't what I think you would want to tell customers. But in any case, he formed a really cohesive, good group that became the foundation. So then when Ernest Q came, they were able to explode the growth and made it into a real global organization. Ernest Q, of course, is now head of Globe Telecom, of course. And then in a roundabout way now, Maulik is leading it to the next phase. But the company has a good culture. And just to give you one example here, a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, there was a gal who's a long-term, 20-some year employee with the company. She gave notice that she was going to retire, and so we called her up and said, you know, we understand you've given notice that you will retire, and there are people who would like to speak with you. There's other opportunities around, and she said that she was interested in pursuing other opportunities, and so, you know, perhaps you and we could sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk about this next stage of your career. And she said, well, but Richard, I just couldn't do that until I was formally finished, because it wouldn't be loyal to the company, and she was retiring. So what was not loyal? But such was the culture of the organization that, you know, it's not a cult, but they're certainly zealots. A good organization, a fabulous organization from an HR side. So please, I'll welcome the Maulik Parekh, CEO of SPI Global Solutions, I think is the proper name. Please, welcome.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is quite humbling to be asked to speak to this crowd, and I consider it as an honor and a privilege to really speak to this very accomplished group of leaders that we have in the room. So first and foremost, I want to thank you all for your time this morning. And I also want to thank Richard for his introduction. Anytime my self-esteem is down, I really call Richard, and he kind of lifts me up. He's really positive. He's like a walking, talking antidepressant for me. Anyway, this morning, I thought, given we have a good mix of BPO executives as well as non-BPO executives, I wanted to cover three things. One, what's going on within the BPO industry, how it's evolving globally and locally, how it's impacting SPI Global, and then really the DNA that company needs to have to truly become the next generation BPO. So without any further ado, if we can actually go to the very first slide. And we have seen some of these graphs from BPAP. It's actually coming from the BPAP Roadmap 2016. But it's worth looking at it, worth kind of considering some of the key messages coming from that slide. As we have all heard from the BPAP team, we have been growing at 30% compounded annual growth rate for the last 5 years in the Philippines. The global BPO market is growing at 15% compound annual growth rate for the last 5 years. So in a way, it's a great story for the Philippines because relatively speaking, we are actually growing faster within the global BPO industry, and I think it's a good omen for us as we look ahead in the future. Something, if you can look at on the graph itself, from 2010 to 2016, we are looking at an incredible and accelerated growth rate going from 15% now going up to 20-25% on a global level. So the number is going from $45 billion annually to then $124 billion in 2016. That's a huge accelerated growth, and I'll cover a few things. What is driving that growth? Why suddenly the growth is actually accelerating between now and over the next 5 to 10 years? But if you look at the Filipino numbers, instead of growing faster than the global numbers, now, while the global BPO numbers are tripling in size, the Filipino BPO industry is also tripling in size. So in a way, relatively speaking, we are slowing down because the competition is increasing in the marketplace. So with that background in mind, I want to cover the 3 or 4 key trends that I see that are happening in the global BPO industry, and why, as an executive in the BPO industry here in the Philippines, I have to be careful about those, be aware of those trends, and be prepared to take advantage of those trends. So if you go to the next slide, one of the first trend that I see is the shift from voice to non-voice in the BPO industry. And I think it's a good news and a bad news for the Philippines here. The good news here is, if you look at the total revenue in 2010 for a global market, it was $45 billion. 57% of that revenue was coming from the voice part of the business, the rest coming from the non-voice. If you go to 2016, the numbers are changing. It's going from 57% to 42% voice. And in absolute terms, it's still a great story for us because the voice side of the business is doubling globally. And we can still take advantage of what we have to offer from the Philippines. From the non-voice side, where we are still lagging behind some of the other key players in the world, we have to catch up because it's non-voice which is what's going to drive the future of the BPO industry, not only here in the Philippines, but globally.